I'm very happy to speak to you because actually, after I came with you to India and we did we went to the school and we filmed the kids and we gave the rucksack. I've never heard much from you, and I was really curious to know how the project is going, and if you ever heard back from the school, if you're going on with the charity. I wanted some update about it.
Yeah, so since the video, yeah, we've continued as strong as ever. As you know, when you went, there were 700 children in the school. Now we're at 650 children in the school. And yeah, we've added more projects and we continue with the ones we had. So yeah, it just continues every year as you saw it. And in a way, we get more efficient every year and the project gets stronger and stronger.
Great. How many donors approximately are involved in the with the project?
There are four companies who are the prime donors for the breakfast project. And then all the other projects are ad hoc donors. So I couldn't even tell you the number, it varies per year. So sometimes there could be 20 donors, 30 donors, 40 donors, and some years there are 10 donors. It really varies. But the projects stay relatively the same size each year. It just might mean that, one donor gave a lot more. And some years, we'll have lots of donors giving less each. But at the end, it always works out almost the same. It's a good question. Why India? Actually, I started my charity role, life, if you like, with Chile, which is the country I'm from, right? So I started with orphans in Chile. That was many, many years ago. And actually, it was a field for me to learn about charity. Actually, that was quite important in my journey when I decided to do in India. And the reason I went and did a bigger charity in India and sort of settled with a charity in India was that I'd been going to India for quite a few years, more on a spiritual yoga type of holidays type of thing. And that's where I met the children and I met the school. And also, the lady who started the charity is a French lady, an amazing woman who lives in France. And she started the charity in France and Switzerland. And she was contacting me, asking me if I would join her. As you know, Luce, many years ago, I had a very big network because I used to travel around the world doing events. So she knew I had that big network and she wanted me to sort of get involved in the school because I had that network of people, and she knew it was a type of network that would be interested in helping these children. So that's really why it was my interest in India, my holidays in India, and having an association with this lady, this amazing lady who had started this charity. It's been going now, I think, 25 years. And she started it also on holiday. She went on holiday 25 years ago, and she used all her holiday money to start this school and help this lady. You met Saigita. Remember Saigita? You met her at the school. You can see her in the video. She's the director of the school. So Saigita, who's still the director of the school, and this lady called Françoise in France, they came together and started 25 years this charity. And Françoise is the one who contacted me. Actually, Luce, it took quite a few years before I agreed to help her because I felt I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't feel confident to do charity. I'd never done charity to that scale in my life, and I wasn't confident enough to do it. So it took quite a few years of small projects working with the school before it really took off because I had to get confident in myself and what I was able to do. You know, I see a lot of people have that. A lot of people actually ask me, how do you do it? A lot of people would love to do work in the third world and help children, but they don't know how to do it. And I was not any different to them. It's exactly the same situation. So it took time to sort of build it up and get the confidence to run it. The rural part of India is very, very different. I mean, you can't go to Bangalore or Mumbai and think you've seen India. I mean, it's the people, even the way the people dress is different. Their mentality is so different. Rural India is like that. People the level of education is different. It's a lot more backward. And yeah, so with the children is really is a dual thing, right? Because you've got the French charity that's paying for their education. So the building, the teachers, the uniforms, all that is being covered by the French charity that was started by this lady called Françoise, right? So what we've added from the UK charity, we've added the well-being side of it, right? Which is the breakfast, which is the get glasses. We've done dental projects with sanitation for the girls, with pads, because, that's a big issue with poverty, menstruation and stuff like that. With poverty is a real problem in education because girls don't go to school, because they just can't afford them. They can't afford the pads, right? So that's something that's very important that we keep going. Also, quite a few years ago, we realized that some of the children that lived a bit further away were struggling to get to school because they're so poor, they can't get, and they're not buses everywhere. They can't take a rickshaw every day. It's just too expensive unless their father is a driver themselves. So, they were really struggling. So here there's a dual thing going on, right? So what we decided to do, that any child that lives 2 miles away or further gets a school bike, right? So they're school bikes, we call them pool bikes, and they belong to the school and they're given to the child while they're at school to get to and from school, right? The backpacks were a similar kind of initiative because the backpacks are to protect their backs. Because in India, as you probably know, Luce, you've been involved in education in India. Education is a massive thing in India, right? And they have so many books. So they have to go home with all these books that, as they're paid actually by the French charity, and these are heavy books that they need for their education. They don't have iPads. I look at my friends' children here in the UK. They've got iPads. They're doing their homework on iPads. At the moment, we don't even have computers in the school, and that's something that we need to solve that problem. Actually, that they're a little bit behind in that respect. Having said that, they have one of the best exam results in the whole region. That's why, Lucia, I call it the miracle school, because they are some of the poorest children. They live in the shanty town in the village, majority of them. All their children are farmers. Their parents are day workers. That means nobody knows if they're going to be paid or find a job the next day. They're cleaners, people like that, right? So these are really poor, I find it amazing because, you look at them in the videos, Lucia. I mean, you did the video. They're so clean. The mothers put flowers in their hair, right? People have no idea of how poor these children are. If you go to the shanty town, we see the shanty town a bit in your video, right? They live in like 1 or 2 rooms, literally whole families, right? These are really poor children. And it's like, if we know the child, if we're associated with the child, like your own child or your nephew or your friend's child, there's a difference, right? Because there's an association with that child. And here you've got children who are not linked to you, but they're still children. They're still just like your child, just like your nephew. They're no different, right? It's just that you don't have an association, you don't have an attachment to them. And there's a massive difference. And I think we all actually function in that realm, right? Where this is mine and this is not mine. So this is a little bit how we function. So I think, however, in the human nature, there is a sort of desire to do charity, right? We have some in the UK, we have massive charities, and around the world, we see some incredible charitable work and philanthropy, right? So I think there's a part of the human nature that some people have, and I think a lot of people have, which is to help outside of that direct group, right? The direct family or direct friend group, and help, whatever, children, animals, older people, So I think there is a human desire to do that. okay, to help. And I think it's like I said to you, in a lot of cases, people don't know how to help. They want to help, but they don't know how to help. So they help by donating to big charities, right? Because that's the easy way to do it. Or like myself, you start something yourself. To tell you the truth, Luce, I quite like running a charity myself because I can manage where the money goes, right? Because one of my biggest issues in the past was if I give £1, right, to a big organization, what percentage of that pound is going to get to the actual child or whatever whoever I'm helping, right? So that was always a big issue for me. you know, and I remember I once read somewhere, I think it's something like 20%, 20%, 25%, if that gets to the actual cause that you gave the money for, because there's a massive infrastructure that goes with it, and there's obviously people in the country that are working or whatever, and probably they need that level of administration to run those massive charities, right? So in a way, with me, one of the things I like about doing it direct is that I can completely manage that side. And one of the big responsibilities I feel is if a donor gives me £1, I want to make sure that that pound gets to the child, right? And the reason we can do that is because we're a very small team, right? And we're all voluntary. So there in India, there are 2 people that work with me, and obviously Sankita at the school. And then in Europe, I have 2 ladies that help me with some of the administration of running the charity. And then I got people like yourself that have helped me with videos and stuff like that. And everybody's voluntary. And that, because we're small and everybody's sort of motivated and committed, we're able to achieve that 100% of the donors' money going to the child. And actually, it's not exactly 100% because, unfortunately, Lucia, the banks will never give money for free, right? So whenever you pay with a credit card, whenever you donate with a credit card, the banks will take money like they do for shops. It's exactly the same. They do the same for charities. And also when we transfer money to India, the banks charge for transferring money, right? So what we do to alleviate that charge is that we send bulks of money so that we're not paying banks constantly, right? So other than the banks who banks are banks and banks will always be banks, right? So other than the banks, nobody else takes any money, right? So I think that is something that I really like, and something that for me is really, I feel a huge sort of what's the word, responsibility, to the donors. So the breakfast project is probably the biggest project that we run in terms of how much it costs per year, right? So the breakfast project was really important, and it's something that I thought about for quite a few years, right? Because we needed to get the level of funding to run it, because before it was like ad hoc projects. The breakfast project is an ongoing project. So you have to assure that you can feed them every day, right? So that's what makes it very special because, and thankfully to 4 companies that sponsor the charity project, it's become possible. It's really thanks to these great people who own these companies who have a, really big heart really to help these children. So yeah, so it's amazing, really, and it's really important, Lucia. I don't think we understand the level of hunger, right? The level of hunger still in India is huge. Malnutrition in children, huge, right? So this was a very small way, actually, because, it's a very simple breakfast project of assuring that no child should go to school hungry, right? Every child should come to school and be able to focus on their education. And the way they do that is by having something to eat in the morning. However small, it's something that gets them some food in the morning. And that's what the breakfast project was really about, that no child should ever go to school hungry. In our work, there's no differentiation. So every child, so we never do anything for any particular child, if you like, or group. So the whole school gets everything, right? So, like, for example, when we do shoes, every child will get a pair of shoes. It could be that there might be one child or some children that, maybe their parents earn a little bit more. And, so we don't say, oh, just because your parents earn a little bit more, and how much is more in poverty, right? It's like maybe a tiny bit more. So we don't differentiate any child, right? So everybody has to get a rucksack. Everybody has to get shoes. We do this shoe project that you know about. I call it the Cinderella project because that was the first time we did the shoe project, Luce. It was I asked the teachers to send us the size of the feet of the children. I mean, we got like 650 children. We need the sizes, right? And of course, they didn't know the sizes, right? So then we were like, how do we find out the sizes? That's why I call it like Cinderella. You have to try a shoe on. So then we thought, I remember when I was a child, they would have these things that would measure your feet in the shoe shop. And then we thought, no, if it's not right, because then when you try the shoe on, it might be different, right? Because different shoes fit differently. So that's when we decided to get like a big sample of shoes of different sizes. And when they were sent to the school, and the children had to try on the shoes with the teachers, and then the teachers would write on a piece of paper which size was the size that fitted that child. So that's why I called it the Cinderella project. All the children had to try on a shoe for us to know their size, right? And every year is the same, because then we decided, because the feet are growing. These children grow. So every year is a different size, and we just don't know. So every year we have to get sampled shoes, or some years there's been some years where we haven't done the shoe project, but most years we do. Sometimes we alternate between shoes and rucksacks because it depends on the funding that we have. Yeah, so we've got the breakfast project, which is, as you know, the biggest project. We have the shoe project, okay, which happens most years. Some years we alternate with the rucksacks, right? So obviously the rucksacks, the bike project, so that the kids can get to school when they live far away. The pads for the girls, that's the project that we run every couple of years probably, because we don't need it every year. Um, what else do we have? We obviously had that music project with the girls coming from Spain. The glasses, every year we get them glasses, so they're tested. We have doctors come and spend 2 days testing everybody, even the teachers. And everybody who needs glasses gets a pair of glasses. We have the dental project, which we haven't run for years because we're looking for dentists. Literally, our dentists have closed down. So yeah, so we used to run yeah, so that's something that we need to find new dentists. But yeah, so we used to run a dental project with fillings. Anybody who needed fillings. And anybody who needed. The other thing is that we are part of, we're associated with a group of doctors. So they're like Doctors Without Borders, Les Médecins Sans Frontières, as they call them, right? So in cases where we do, like if we notice a big eye problem in the testing of the eyes or the teeth, we can then speak to this organization, and any child that needs, like maybe like a cataract operation, right, which is rare in children, but it can happen, or anything like dentally very difficult, then we work through this organization, and they have really big consultant doctors that go to India regularly on these they do these medical camps. So even Luce, if there's not a doctor there in India, because there's big hospitals, as you know, in Puttapati, if we can't get it sorted with them, there are ways for us to access big surgeons that are coming from Europe, that can treat the children.
How big is the team there? Like, how many people are involved in managing this charity?
Right. So in India, there are two people who work directly with me. So we have Agent Patel, that I call him. He has his code name, Agent Patel. He is responsible for all the negotiation and management of suppliers, right? So he's absolutely key in the process. Also, because of something you learn about doing charity, you need to have people who are there and who know the culture, who understand everything. And he plays that role, which I couldn't do that. He is my eyes, my ears, everything, and the negotiator and management of the processes in India, right? And he also works with another gentleman called Kumar. And Kumar, I see him more as a quality manager and a day-to-day helper for us. So quality management has been absolutely key for us doing charity in India. And Luce, you will know from also having done some charity in India that you have to be so careful. In Chile, it was the same thing. You have to be so careful. Sometimes you think doing charities that you helping, sometimes it could be quite detrimental. You know, you think that what you're helping is actually not help at all. So one of the things we discovered was that the suppliers have to be watched very closely because, for example, bananas, right? So what they were doing every few months or so, they would deliver bananas, and the bananas would be beautiful at the top, and at the bottom they were black, right? They wouldn't do it every week. They would just do it now and then, as if we wouldn't notice, right? And then, of course, then we would complain to them, say, you know, this is unacceptable. And then they would be okay again for another 2 months, 3 months, and then they would do it again, right? So what we decided to do is that by introducing Kumar to the team, he is a younger member of the team in comparison to Agent Patel, right? So he can play a role of, he actually examines the bananas before they reach the school. And he takes them in a rickshaw, right? So you can imagine these rickshaws, they all arrive at the school with, I think it's about 700 bananas at the moment are arriving in the school twice a week, 700 bananas, and they're all quality control before they reach the school, right? So that way we've eliminated any possible bad quality of the bananas. We also have we have buns that are like brioches, right? So they're also controlled before. Make sure they're normally cooked the same day or the night before, right? But just to make sure, you know, they're picked up. There's a quality control there to make sure that they're all nicely fresh before they go to the school. So the suppliers are aware that we are controlling their quality, right? So by being aware, they make sure that we get only the best quality of everything, you see. And then obviously the rice, which is one day we have masses, you know, I don't know if you've seen the pictures on the website, you'll see these amazingly massive pots that you see in India. They use them for weddings and stuff like that. They feed hundreds of people, right? So we have those filled with rice, you know, with different rice dishes that we give the children every Thursday. So that's cooked the same day, you know, so to make sure that it's all nicely and fresh. Yeah. So there's two in India, right? And obviously Saigita at the school, who's the school director, she's very closely linked with myself. And then in Europe, we have a lady called Saigita who helps me in the management of the breakfast project. And then there's a friend called Rosanna who is an accountant, and she helps me with more of the management of the money management of the charity. And then there is, and very importantly, we are a registered charity. We're part of a registered charity in the UK, so everything is totally official. And we work with Numinous. We're part of Numinous, which is the charity that we're part of. And there we have somebody called David who runs our activities within the charity. So that's everybody that is involved in running this charity.
I just want to close with a question, two questions. First, if someone is inspired to start something like this because maybe they have heard of some sort of um, project or initiative that needs help, how would you suggest a normal people to start something like you have started?
Oh, that's an excellent question, Luce. You know, um, it's a difficult one for me to answer because, as I said at the beginning, I was hesitant myself, right? So I would say if you're going to start very slowly. You know, the way I did it, very slowly. You do just one project, see how that goes, learn from that project. You know, like I told you, like quality control and stuff like this. I'll give you an example. When I started doing charity in Chile, I learned very quickly you have to be careful because at one stage I decided to buy, they were orphans, right? And I started to, one of the projects I did, I bought them shoes, and I found these really, really lovely shoes. So I got some of them, these lovely shoes. I could only get them in one size, right? So thank God I could only get them in one size. And what happened is the girls sold them, Luce. This is the thing, you see, you're dealing with poverty. And because we don't live in poverty, we don't think like somebody in poverty, you know? Shoes are not as important as eating every day. So if you got nice shoes and you can sell them, right? So, so this is so you learn. So this is what I'm saying. Do things, learn. You know, do gradually and learn, and then duplicate and so forth. And that's how I did it. And that's how I would say. With me, I had a network to do it. Okay, so I knew Agent Patel in India. I had the link with this French lady who started the charity, who introduced me to the school. So it was, even with my network, you know, I would say, go very slowly, learn and build, right? Then I would say to people who, you know, says, oh, I couldn't do that. You know, I don't have the link in Africa. I don't have the link in South America or India or a third world country. I wouldn't even know where to start. You know, I don't go on a holiday to these places, but I would love to help and do something similar. Just contact me, okay? Because one of the things I like to do with my network of donors is that I like to work very closely with them and to see how something that they would like to do, how do we make that happen, right? So I'll give you an example of that. I have a friend who's a gynecologist, right? She wanted to help the school. So rather than just saying, okay, just donate money, right? Because there's always somewhere you can use the money, right? I married, right? Her not so being a gynecologist, the girls need pads, right? Menstruation and all this. And I married both together, right? So then it's almost like the donor becomes the then they're really involved. Do you see? It's not just give, you can do it both ways. You can just give money and say, Denise, here's some money, get on with it, right? Or you can be involved. So if you're somebody who wants to be involved, they can start something themselves or work with somebody like me. I'm very happy to work with people and say, okay, this is the sort of stuff we need. Are you interested in any of this? Is this something you would be interested in? Why don't we work together? We can discuss it. Let's choose, you know, the different suppliers. And I work with them together, right? So they really feel that they are totally involved in the process. Also, you know, the donors, the companies, they know that they are the banana donor. They know that they're the biscuit donor. They know that they're the rice donor. So they know, right? And they even know which day they feed the children,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's something that if somebody really would like to work with children, right? Do charity for children, but they don't want to do all this stuff that you have to do, which actually does take years of practice and learning and
Yeah.
whatever. If they don't want to do it, Yeah, they can work with somebody like me. I'm really happy to work with people. I would have loved to have somebody that I could have called and say, listen, I want to help the children. Can you help me? Let's do something. I would have loved that. I wouldn't have had to set all this infrastructure up, right? The same result, Luce. At the end, it's the same result. Whether I run it, it's really the donors that make it happen. I'm just an instrument to make this thing happen.
How would you suggest to find donors?
Ah, right. In my case, it's a good question. People ask me this question regularly, right? Because they want to start their own charities and stuff. So they do ask me these questions. In my case, it's all my network, right? So it's my friends, it's acquaintances. Um, so over the years, actually, there's never been a donor. There's one donor who I've never met, an amazing woman that I've never met her, but I know of her. She's like an acquaintance in my network, right? So it's always linked to somebody I know, right? So yeah, that's in my case, I've done it like that. And I think that's one of the things that I've built the charity on trust, right? In that I know the donors, right? And at least I know who they are, right? I speak to them, even if that I might not have never met them physically. I've definitely spoken to them, right? And their trust is actually in the process of this charity. Do you see? So it's almost like they know that if they're donating, they know that I will make sure that it's going to happen. Do you see? So it's my kids is my network of people. I've never done like, that they do these fundraising things. What we do, Luce, though, is that, for example, say it's your birthday, right? Or we've had that, weddings, people's weddings, so events, big events. So people, rather than wanting a present, they want to do charity, right? So what we do, we set up these charity pages. So I set up these pages for people for their birthday, for the wedding. Also, we've had it for funerals, where people have wanted to donate the money. So what happens is then people, rather than buy a present or whatever, or buy flowers or whatever, they give money to this link that we do this page on, right? So we write about the birth, we write about the funeral, whatever, about the person or whatever the event is, right? And people then can donate. So those, I don't know who they are, right? I have no idea some of these people who have donated, but they're friends of my friends.
Yeah. That's a great idea for someone that would like to start something. For example, maybe you want to start something, your birthday is coming up, and you can ask your circle of friends and family, please help me with this charity, donate for this for my birthday. I will use the money to help these people. That's a great, simple act to start, for example.
Exactly. And you can do that with any charity, if you want to support anything, animals or whatever, you can do exactly the same thing that we do. You can do with any charity, right? So yeah, so that is another way of actually this year the I project was paid by somebody's birthday. Can you imagine that, Luce? Right? Get that around your head, right? That people, 650 children were tested, right? Plus the teachers. I think there were 30 or 40 teachers that were tested. Every single one who needed a pair of glasses got a pair of glasses, right? This was somebody's birthday. I mean, it's just, it's like when you think, plus this person already has everything.
Yeah,
When I spoke to his wife, and he's already got everything, and we're going to have the house full of more stuff, right? So it's like, imagine the impact of one birthday.
yeah.
It blows my mind. One birthday, right?
What
I
can it
have
do?
these. What can you do? They also, these other people I know, right? They went on a walk around the UK. They went on this massive walk and they had people donate towards their walk for charity, right? Their walk gave shoes to 650 children, right? In that case, there was more effort, right? There was more effort. They had to walk. They walk and people gave money for their walk charity. But they were responsible for giving shoes to 650 children. I mean, but you could do it with a birthday. You could do it with anything. You could say, I'm going to do this. Why don't, I'm going to walk. I'm going to run. I'm going to whatever. The easiest
Yeah.
thing is a birthday. You don't have to do anything.
Mm. I like it.
The thing is, though, Lucia, the reason people don't do it, I think, is because they can't say, like in the case of this friend who did it for the birthday, they knew, like I said, let's do the eye project with your birthday. So they knew that their birthday present was going to have an outcome.
Yeah. It's not with not
100%.
wasted money. They are putting the trust of the people that want to give them something, and because they trust you and they know that you will use the money properly. So that's
Exactly,
huge.
exactly. And not only that, it's like when we did the breakfast project, they got everything. They got all the photos, they got the videos of the children getting the eye test, pictures of all of them with their glasses. It's it, it's like what we have a lot of actually. People, especially Indian people, they like to remember people who passed away on their birthday, so they want to donate a meal in
Yeah.
memory of their
Of the
mother, their
person.
father, their husband. It's a beautiful thing to do in memory of somebody who passed away. I think it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing, and that day you got the whole school is fed, and if we get this amazing meals for the children, absolutely fabulous meals, with all these curries and rices and all these different desserts. Indian food's absolutely delicious. And we feed the whole school that day in memory of this person who passed away, who has, who's remained in somebody's heart, and they want to remember them that day. What a magnificent way to remember somebody, by
Yeah.
feeding. And we probably have 700 servings that day, because we will also feed the teachers.
Yeah. That's great. Amazing. I love it. We've closed this video perfectly because inspiring people with new ways of creating a new impact is wonderful, and we've done that. So thank you very much for today's call. It
Oh,
has been a
thank you,
pleasure
Luce. Thank you, Luce. It's so nice to see you, and so lovely to catch up after so
for
long.
me too. I hope that we can go back to the school together soon. Keep me updated. I want to come and meet the children again. We can do another video if you
Yeah,
want.
let's do another video. That would be great. Maybe we could do a video of the breakfast project or another project. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, so thank you very much, and we'll speak soon.
Okay, cheers. Bye.
Cheers.